And looks like we're live, so we made it.
Whoa.
Hi, yeah, despite all the odds, I'm Scott Moon. I'm here today with my co-host Ralph Kern, and science fiction author A.K. Lambert is here to share his writing journey. This spring, he supported Covers for a Cure and won a book cover from Tom Edwards and an editing package from Ellen Campbell. Covers for a Cure raised nearly $5,000 for research and treatment of Parkinson's disease. And he put the services that he won through that contest through his top bid, the services of Tom Edwards and Ellen Campbell, to good use by creating Princess Grace of Earth, the Zeroth Infestation Book 1. So, Andy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Andy. How are you?
Hi, guys. Good to be here.
Excellent. Did I pronounce the Zeroth? Is it Zeroth Infestation?
Zeroth.
Zeroth. See, I'm
Zeroth.
Excellent. Well,
I didn't win I didn't win one of Tom's covers. It was only the package, but I then, having saw the standard of his work, I thought, I want to go to this guy.
Oh, okay.
So I got talking to him after that.
My mistake, but you were a big part of our fundraisers. That was very interesting.
That's right. Yeah.
Very popular event. People really liked that. I think we did some good work. So, thanks to Ralph. Thanks, Ralph.
Well, no, it was the bid winners, which was yourself and Sam Peralta, Greg Dragon, Scott Bartlett, and who else was there?
Oh, we had quite a round.
We had quite a few, didn't we? Quite a few. And
right.
Apologies for what we got.
So now that I've got us off topic, we haven't even started. Andy, you want to tell us about yourself and kind of what got you started on your writing journey, and we'll just go from there.
Okay. Thank you. What got me started on the writing journey? Well, I must start off by saying that never in the world did I ever think I would write a book. At school, I was thrown out of the mock English. They wouldn't even let me take the exam. I was pretty good at sums and whatnot because I've become an engineer for the Rolls Royce of companies. But writing a book has never been on my list of to-do things. All started when I met Mr. Kern at our local running club or triathlon club running night at the university. And we were similar running pace. Well, I was a bit faster, but he might argue about that.
It's all those extra years of experience you have at running.
Right, clearly
decades of extra experience.
So anyway, would it be about 4 years ago now?
Oh, it must have been something like that.
Yeah. You just finished writing Endeavour. One or two people to have a read of it, and I volunteered because I've always liked science fiction, and I read through it and was absolutely blown away with it. So I then became one of your sort of regular readers of your fantastic novels, and you always nagged me that everyone has got a book in them, you said, and as it happened, I'd been diagnosed with a blood cancer in 2012, and I was on what's called watch and wait. But I was told that this is about a year and a half ago, far off away from having to have treatment. And I thought to myself, well, this is going to upset my training. And so I decided, right, I'm going to write this book that Ralph says I'm capable of doing. And basically the only two things I know about are triathlon and air conditioning, and I thought I can't really think of a lot to write with that. I'd come up with this idea of a murder mystery, and it was going to be Murder in T2, which is the second triathlon transition zone. And I quickly realised that that was going to go nowhere, and so I thought a science fiction book. It started from there. Do you want to shut up for a minute, or?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I think probably a lot of people doing a triathlon might want to be murdered about transition point.
Yes, you're right on the nail there.
Yeah. Especially when you've got a of two evils, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Somebody please put me
either crack on or put me out my misery.
Especially if, like me, you're pretty above average at swimming, above average at cycling, but absolutely crap at running. Yes, T2 is you're about to start on the worst part of your triathlon, the run.
Two out of three.
So anyway, I decided I needed to find a villain, and I wanted to find an insect that was really badass, and base my villain on the insect. And I came across on Discovery Channel the Japanese giant hornet, and he really is a nasty piece of work. Well, they are. And I start my book off with a little quote from it that basically describes how they go to a nest of European honeybees, and within the space of a few hours, 30 of them will kill 30 or 60,000 bees just to get the honey and the larva. And so I decided to create a race of people based on them, and they are the ultimate bad people in the story.
Yeah.
And it all went from there.
So you got your villain or your villain antagonists that are based on the Japanese hornet, and are they coming to Earth, or is it set in a different type of galaxy, or what brings our protagonists in contact with these supervillains?
Well, you first get to meet them, and they are just like the hornet will send out a scout. The Zealot have got scouts already on Princess Grace's world. Mm-hmm. Grace isn't her real name on her world, but it's what she's named after the Princess of Monaco on Earth. But so they've already found a world that they intend to conquer, and it takes them a number of years to sort of set it up ready for the big push. And the one particular side of the two main countries on this world send off three of their I call them princesses and princes. They're sort of royal trainees, basically, and one of them comes to Earth. She thinks she is safe, but she isn't, and she's discovered on two fronts: the country they're at war with on their planet, and also from a single Zealot. So a lot of it takes place on Earth, and the Earth part of it comes to a conclusion in book one. And there's some snippets into what book two and book three are likely to be like, spread throughout.
Excellent. We got in our chat room, we got a good response on the hornets. Hornets people are like me. I'm terrified of hornets. Never been bitten by a hornet, but the idea of an entire race of them coming after me is kind of scary.
Yeah, they look like pretty badass hombres. It's probably good to point out they don't physically look like hornets, do they? I think you've got a good representation of what they look like on your back cover. I think is that sorry, I forget her name. Bishirk? Is that on the front cover?
Yes, that's her. She, interesting. The cover. I sent a picture of my three oldest kids walking like that, awesome. with a bit of a sketch of Physics head, which I'd sort of copied out of a Marvel comic and added a few sort of horns and things, and said to Tom, "Can you? I want to project on the cover threat. So I want threat from afar." And the first thing he came up with that, and I thought, what a stunning piece of work that is. This was before the sort of the three children that she sort of gets together with, and yeah, I was so pleased with my cover, so pleased.
I know. Yeah, the cover is fantastic, and I asked some of those questions based on that because I figured that had to be your villain, and yeah, that's an excellent cover. I also like the coloring. It's interesting that you used your oldest kids as models for Tom's art.
Yeah, well, that caused a lot of problems because my youngest isn't in there, so he's expecting to be the soul on book 2.
Yeah, he'll have his own cover.
I'm just going to try and get up that cover because I think it's well worth having a look at. Where are we? Sorry, I'm not so fay with these things as.
Well, and that's the thing is Josh today. If people didn't know, people are probably watching the show pretty worried about Josh and where he's at, which they probably should be worried because he's at mom training and probably try not to blow something up.
Or himself.
Or blow something up. I don't know what they do there. It's all very secret. But he's a tech guy. So I was going to put up an overlay of this cover, and I wasn't quite sure how to do it. So I figured I'd do that. Just getting the show running has been enough for me.
I think that should be showing now.
You're showing me like a second time.
Yeah.
Look at that. I'm everywhere.
Right, now I'll come back. I'll
come back and zoom in on that.
Am I here? Am I here? Am I home?
You're back. You're back.
I'm back. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. So Andy, when is this story set? So I mean, obviously you've got a side of it on another world, a world that's at war with itself, and that war may or may not have been instigated by our friend the Zerot. But a good portion of it's set on Earth. Is that in contemporary times? Is it in the future?
It's in contemporary times, yeah. Grace arrives at Earth around about 2000, year 2000, and she's 13 by then. You're introduced to her when she's about 10, so there's a couple of years travelling to get here. Yeah, it's based in Southern Ireland, and then sort of John, who's the young Irish lad that they befriend, is a cyclist, off-road, something that I've always been in awe of, but not very good at myself. And I've had a lot of input from a couple of friends who are really good off-road cyclists, downhill cyclists, just to get a feel of the skills he has. Now his skills will come to play later on in the trilogy, but for now he's just a young lad, and the first book basically gets them up to university.
That was leading right into one of my questions I've been wanting to ask about if you've taken any of your other influences with all your. I thought that was mine. If you brought any of your other influences with your triathlons and things like that into your training, so it sounds like you have at least one character that does the downhill off-road cycling. Do these characters go through like a kind of a developmental process or an academy, or are they already set up to protect the princess, or how do you develop your kind of your secondary characters?
Well, I thought because the princess has a team around her, they're called the life team, and they're basically training her for a number of years until she's older and she can get onto the sort of her country's main council. ruling council. So I was thinking, if I was leader of that team and I got to a world like Earth, what would I do? So I decided they need to look for help, and I went through a process of how they whittled down to a pair of a couple that could help them. So they eventually whittled down to a politician and a scientist who's really interested in astronomy. But the one thing they have got also is a daughter the same age as Grace. Right. So they end up being the ones that help them. I sort of refer to their early attempts at being human as more like Mork and Mindy. And they I don't know if everyone remembers Mork and Mindy, but they needed a lot of polishing before they could actually get out and act as, blend in with Earth people. And they do it through what I call solid holographics. So yeah,
so how many people I'm talking now to our live chat people, which I can see, but of course our guests probably can't. And Ralph is in there. Who remembers Mork and Mindy? If you do that, I got a couple of responses when you said that. I loved Mork and Mindy. I grew up on that. But people,
I think it evolved to Third Rock from the Sun in my era.
Yeah. Well, and the younger crowd might not remember, but Mork and Mindy, Mork was an alien that came to Earth, and it was Robin Williams. So if you can imagine Robin Williams on a sitcom,
yeah, madcap to say the least.
Yeah, Ken McClellan says "Nanu Nanu" up, Stephen C. Manu, Nanu Nanu, Vicky Malone.
Oh, that's
Nanu, Nanu. That's where the term "Nanu Nanu" was introduced to the English language. For anybody who didn't know that, it's very powerful. He had some sort of hand sign. So
it's been introduced.
Yeah.
So, what would you say the target audience is, Andy? Is it young adult? Is it new adult, or is it something for the more sort of adults?
I think young adults, but I'm hoping that it will appeal to adults as well. I've only had 3 people read the book, so at the moment,
and you just recently.
It's difficult to tell.
Yeah, and you just recently released it, and so it goes that awkward process. Yeah. I released a book recently as well, and you go through that process. You're like, boy, I sure hope somebody would hint, read and review this book, because we'd all like that. Writers love reviewers. Just
well, I was experimenting because I wanted to see if I released on Amazon, what would happen? Would there be any visibility from day one? And it was quite interesting because over the first week I sold 1 book in the USA,
right.
1 or download, 1 in 2 in GB, 2 in Australia, and 4 in Germany. So I'm quite big in Germany, which is good.
Big in Germany.
I'm big in Germany, yes.
Yeah, so, like David Hasselhoff is big in Germany also.
Yeah. I haven't really sort of pushed the marketing side of it yet. I'm still trying to understand it.
You've got jaded experts who've been in the game for years who are still trying to understand the marketing. So I think it's a long road ahead.
It's really, but we have a lot of our writers and readers on here are into science fiction and understand, like science and stuff. But this is really more just plain marketing. Books is just straight black magic. That's really all there is to it. Nobody understands it. I'm half joking. Only half though.
More like a quarter. More like a quarter joking and stuff like that. Okay. So you did.
So my daughter likes it, but then again, she doesn't want to be disinherited,
right?
From my wealth of overdraft facilities. What I did get a lot of good feeling from was Ellen. After she'd finished editing, and sorry, Ellen, for the level of editing you had to do. But she said she thought it was terrific. So yeah, when she told me that, and I've had one review in Amazon UK,
right.
and it was from a friend in the triathlon club, but he sort of describes it quite well. He's a German as well, and it's just a single line. I'll read it to you. A very well constructed story that binds sci-fi with contemporary elements nicely into a gripping but warm story. So you've got sort of sci-fi, contemporary, gripping, warm story. I haven't got a clue where it falls.
But one of the things I've noted is just how warm it does feel. It's sort of almost sort of like that kind of. I don't want to sort of sound too cliche with the sort of Harry Potter sort of feel to it, but I can fully see that sort of it could probably sink in with the young adult crowd through to the new adult crowd as the crowd get older. But also there's some quite thrilling sort of military science fiction scenes, some of the battle scenes in it between the two countries. Would definitely lend themselves to sort of the more. I don't know whether it's mainstream or not, because probably young adult is more mainstream than military science fiction, but you're kind of getting where I'm going. It would lend itself to the people who enjoy military science fiction, sort of quite hard feeling battles and conflicts that are going on in throughout the
it's interesting
story. And should the baddie in it is it's quite fearsome in a lot of ways. Just about everywhere. She's and I think that makes her even more intimidating. The fact that she's sort of she's not a nice person, but there's no doubting she's super competent at what she does.
Right. So, I want everyone to like her.
You want
that's the trouble with me. I want everyone to like everything. So I don't want a baddie where people will think, oh God, she's horrible. I don't want to read about her.
Right. Fascinating.
She's not likable, I think. I mean, in my opinion, she's not likable, but she's compelling, and that's, you're like, oh, what's she going to do next? It's kind of
compelling and fascinating. It's a good villain is you may not necessarily love them everything they do, but you can usually maybe empathize with them a little bit. Maybe they have some good somewhere. But yeah, they're more fascinating than likable, I guess, because some of the most interesting things I read is for what is making this villain do this stuff and why. That's a question I ask in day-to-day life as well, is why do bad people do these things? It's got to be a reason. Maybe there's not, but you'd like to think there is. So she's super competent. She's one of the villain that you don't think that your heroes have a chance against, but you're hoping against hope that they pull it off at the end, and that sets you up for book 2, I imagine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is I'm looking at some of our I'm looking at our live chat board right now. I've been kind of ignoring it because I don't multitask well. So
what was want to just sort of duck into the process of working with Ellen now. Ellen is probably one of the most preeminent and respected editors working in the indie scene. So it's one hell of a coup for you to get to work with her. Last time I checked, her waiting list was measured in the years, wasn't it?
Right. She's she's one of the top editors in our genre, in our field, Ellen Campbell. And we interviewed her one time and have had a few chats with her, and she's extremely smart and competent and very outspoken. So I imagine that when she's editing your stuff, she probably had lots of things to say. How was it working with Ellen?
Oh no, it was great. It really was. I was obviously very, very worried to start off with that she was just going to pick it up and throw it back at me and say, come do this to it, do that to it, do that, and then come back to me. But she didn't, and she had a bit of a problem just before she was about to start my book, because she got food poisoning for a week. So that really stacked up her sort of workload when she eventually sort of got back to feeling good enough to start working again. So I actually then received the first edits while I was on holiday. It's good, really, because I needed a lot of time to to go through and really study the edits and whatnot. I mean, I could have said yes to all of them and whatnot, but I wanted to learn from the process, and it's all her little subtleties of wasn't quite the right. Put this word in, and then you suddenly hang on. This suddenly reads so much better. And I liked your comment, Ralph, when you started reading it, and you've obviously read lots of earlier drafts of mine, and I think you said Ellen's done a good job of panel beating, and I thought, yes, that's exactly what she's done.
Yeah, well, that's precisely what I noticed it does, isn't it? That an analogy, which I can't even remember where I picked it up, was an author in many ways produces a statue that's kind of like a rough shape of what the final form is, and then the editor's the one who sort of, you know, helps to shape it into the final form that you're happy to put on display. It's probably a poor metaphor, but it does show roughly what they do, and the absolute value that they can add, and especially one of Madame Campbell's Calibra.
Yes, well, definitely. I read some of it and I think someone else has written this, not me. But no, I'm really happy with it. Really happy.
Excellent. That's actually, I like that metaphor of the sculptor, because, you know, how many times, whether you're painting or drawing or writing a book, you think it's going to turn out one way, and no matter, despite your best laid plans, it's usually different than what you started with. So it's not bad.
Well, that's the one thing I did find about. I obviously, it took me a while to sort of understand the writing process, and after a while, Ralph said, go on to SFF Chronicles and put some work up for critique. And that has been really good to me. Brian Turner and a chap called Tinker Dan always seem to sort of comment and really help me out. And I started to see the fact that you know, you don't need to tell everything in the first chapter. I was telling rather than showing, and I think one of them sort of said something that I took forward: trust your reader. Your reader will stay with you and will understand, and that really sort of opened up how I then sort of proceeded with the story. I was reading lots of things about only having one, maybe two main characters, and I've got main characters all over the place. So it flies from, you know, from one world to another, from the princess to the two princes and what's happening on their journeys, just snippets for the future. And I thought it was all getting too complicated, but I kept reading it. I thought, no, it's not. It's the sort of thing, it's the book that I would like to read. So why write for an audience you think want a particular type of book? Why don't you write the book you want to write? Because there's probably lots of people like you who will read that book. So it's not necessarily easy, and you do have to concentrate. But I've always liked books where I'll get onto page 99 and read something, and I thought, I have to go back to page 7. There was a clue earlier on. And I look and I find that, and then I think, yeah, that's what. So I like to be tested a bit by the author. I'm not overly tested, I don't think, but there are one or two things in there that will hopefully a reader will think, that's a throw in there, but that could be important. So
right. Yeah, no, that's the best thing. Writing something you want to read is definitely the place to start. And it's always great when I read books when I figure something out. I have like a revelation, and then I was reading Unfathomed by Ralph here recently, and it's a suspense.
Hey, this is Andy's.
I know, but I'm just talking about it because he mentioned it before. But the point is that it's one of those things where it's a suspense thrillers in particular good for this, where you're like, oh, wait a minute, that makes sense, and you go back, like I said, go back to page 7 and pick up that clue, and then I feel smarter than I am, and then I move on. I feel great about myself. That's how we do it.
With suspense and thrillers, I understand there's a rough rule of thumb, which is that hopefully your reader, with their top-down view of probably not necessarily top-down view, but having had the benefit of looking through various characters' eyes, should be able to piece things together one page before you give it to them in some form of revelation, and that way they're like, yeah,
that's exactly right. And it's like Andy said earlier too about trusting your reader. That's a hard thing for writers to get around, especially because I have this same fear that like somebody's going to look at this and think it's a big jumbled mess, but you realize you don't have to explain every detail. You're not writing an encyclopedia, you're writing a story, and there's supposed to be some questions, I think. So.
Yeah, there's some critique works on the SFF Chronicles. You can see people are giving all the information, and they'll stop the story, they'll give a load of information, and then they'll restart the story. I think there's a few authors who can get away with that. Terry Pratchett springs to mind. He doesn't necessarily stop the story, but he gives you little footnotes, doesn't he? So you instead of writing along, then you see a number, and it will refer to a note at the bottom of the page where he gives the backstory. I quite like that, but seamless it is not. Don't get me wrong. But he's got enough of an audience who like that side of things. David Waber's always good. I think he's got a bit more seamless than he used to. I remember the big chase scene in Basilisk Station where you got this thrilling starship chase, and then it grinds to a halt while he explains, right, okay, this is a physics situation, this is the engineering of the situation, this is what they're going to do. Hawkwing Drive does this, the torpedoes can do that. Now let's restart. Now you're armed with that information. In many ways, it does make for a more thrilling sort of scene once you, as a reader, understand it all. But again,
it goes back to who your target audience is. A lot of readers, that's what they want. They want details. They want the nuts and bolts, and other people want to breeze through that. And so, the biggest thing about marketing that I at least understand conceptually is you find the people that are into your type of story, and then you go to them first, and then maybe later you can broaden it out to the biggest mistake most people do when they talk about marketing a book is this will appeal to everybody. I'm like, no, it won't. you need to write to like a small group and see if they like it and spread.
However, Scott, there is one book that would appeal to literally everyone, and I think it might be time to
come for an ad read.
To have an ad read.
Oh yeah, it's time for an ad read, and this would probably be my favorite ad read.
Seamless.
My seamless self-serving ad read. So this month,
do you want me to do it so there's no stated conflict of interest? Or
if you want to, yeah, sure. You want to do the ad read for Burning Sun?
I'll do the ad read for Burning Sun. Burning Sun, the SMC Marauders, Book 2. Admiral Danzig Robideau has so few friends he can only fight to save his enemies. Framed for smuggling beggar tanks to the distant Union army, he is to be put on trial as soon as he stops the burners. His destiny and that of his brother, who has been behind enemy lines for decades, is about to change. Kevin Connolly, recovered from the Second Brookhaven War, trains for the Recon's tryouts. His mission in life is to get back into the action and rescue the twins from Cronin, an alien with a greater past and grimmer future than either of them realise. He knows he should be careful what he wishes for, because the next conflict is going to make the Second Brookhaven War look like a walk in the park. Cronin, alone after his refusal to turn Ace and Amanda over to his former Siren masters, faces true death without Chrysalis. He will face a transformation like no Simon or Nyx has ever seen, and the galaxy will burn if he fails. Burning Sun is in Book 2 in the SMC Marauders trilogy. Readers who enjoy fantastic aliens and epic battles will want this series in their collection, part space opera, parts military sci-fi. This book takes a dynamic cast of characters to stunning new worlds and epic conflicts. That's Burning Sun, SMC Marauders Book 2. They've had a few words because someone crossed them out. Invasion, counter-invasion, betrayal, planetary assaults are the most dangerous things during a trunk double cross. So.
Yep, that's it. Thank you, Ralph. You did a great job. It's awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah, who crossed it out though? Did you cross it out?
When I was working on our show notes, that's basically my tagline. If we're talking about marketing, I'd listened to a course or bought a course from Brian Cohen, and he has some good tips on how to write copy and how to write your descriptions for that. And so they always recommends having a one-line tagline, so that invasion, counter-invasion, betrayal, planetary assaults are the most dangerous during a double cross. That's meant to be what they call above the fold on Amazon. So you'll see like one line that's above the fold, and then it'll be like, do you want to read more? And then you get the longer version. And so that's my one tagline. So to explain that, basically what that is in this story, they've invaded another planet, but as soon as they invade it, they get invaded by a greater threat. So it's kind of just, like I said, it's a big, giant, hot mess. And I was worried that readers are going to be like, this is too confusing. But we already covered that earlier, that the readers are smarter.
Trust the readers. Trust the readers.
And
I don't think I actually said this, by the way. And the author is the preeminent Scott Moon.
Oh, yeah, that's me. I'm throwing around my show host credentials to get the ad read today. So
pick it up.
Yeah, check it out.
If you buy one book out of this interview, buy Andy's. If you buy two, buy Scott's.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That's the fair advice.
First our guess, and then at the ad read thing there in this case. So we talked about a lot of stuff during the pre-show, including some health topics, and we talked about fitness and how it relates to writing. Because in case nobody's picked it up yet, Andy is really into fitness and running triathlons. I think we were talking about you've been to Florida and Honolulu and all those places doing triathlons. And so we want to talk a little bit about how those things fit into writing and some of the health issues. If you want to go there and talk about that, I'm sure a lot of people would find some benefit about that as well. So I'll turn it over to you, Andy. You want to pick something and we'll talk about that.
Okay. Well, as I say, I probably didn't get into fitness until mid to late 40s. I took up triathlon because I thought I could swim. I thought I could ride a race bike, and I knew I could run a bit slowly. Soon found out I wasn't particularly good at all three of them, but I got the bug. And anyone that sort of got into triathlon or any sort of training like that realizes that when you get the bug, it's sort of it sort of hits you. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing it 18 years now, and before my illness, I'd sort of got to a reasonable level, national standards. Was always sort of in the top 5 in the UK. Unfortunately, in my age group, the Americans have got some absolutely fantastic triathletes, and all of them must be on performance-enhancing drugs, as far as I'm concerned. No, only joking. They've got some. They're some brilliant stuff. One or two of the world championships I've been to, I've just watched these American guys absolutely rule the roost. Fantastic. But I mean, it's just
that's all the good Kansas beef.
Sorry.
But corn-fed Americans.
From the Moon Farm, is that?
From the Moon Farm, right in there. Anyway, I digress. We are well fed.
No, so anyway, I mean, as I've got older, it's staying fit has certainly been a benefit. I'm just now getting back into some sort of training after my chemotherapy. The chemotherapy wasn't that bad, actually. It was the start of the year. caused by the chemotherapy. I had some lung issues, emphysema, I think it's called, and that had me in and out of hospital for a good while, probably 6 months to get over that. Ralph even came to visit me the one time in his work gear, and I'd convinced all the nurses in there that I was quite a dangerous criminal, and he was just keeping an eye out on me. So, yeah, so I'm just trying to ease back into a little bit of running now, and I'm getting to the gym. Unfortunately, the reading.
Say that ease into a little bit of running for Andy is probably a little bit different than many of our watchers would say. Yeah, you're leaving me behind, and you're during your early stages of chemo when you're still training. Was that when you were under your assessments or whatever? I was just like, yeah. What is going on here?
Thanks for trashing my self-confidence. Good job. Push me down. Corvoy Z says, "Stay strong, Lambert." So he's offering some support for all that.
Yeah, no, that's you do get lots of support. It's amazing when you've been through some chemo that you suddenly find out people. I found people at work who've gone through exactly the same thing, and it's as though you're in a bit of a club, and we all talk about each of our recoveries and whatnot. Luckily, my blood cancer, it's not one that they can cure, but hopefully I won't have to have chemo again. Getting very close to the magic pill. So next time I'm in recess at the moment, which should be a few years, hopefully. But when it comes back again, hopefully it will just be a pill a day from then on. So research is getting is really doing wonders in cancer research, and I've done a lot of fundraising as well, sort of cycling events and Ironman events for Bloodwise, which is the blood cancer charity of Great Britain.
It's always good to continue to push on that research, because there's lots of different types of cancer. I'm sure I didn't know that they were that far with the oral medication as for being a treatment. So that's good news. I'm glad to hear that. Obviously,
that seems just so futuristic to me compared to sort of even a few years ago. Sort of seeing people, going through the treatment regimes, and it's fair to say they were looking pretty sorry for themselves, and sort of, so it's got to the stage where it's controllable by tablet is amazing. It just goes to show, perhaps we shouldn't give up or disregard the great work that the scientists and doctors and so on and so forth are doing on this front. It's not glamorous stuff, a lot of it, is it? But, it's
if you look at blood cancer amongst children, probably 40, 45 years ago, it was a death sentence. Nowadays, I think survival rate is up near 96, 97%. That is how, sort of research and treatments have come on. So, as the Bloodwise motto is that we can beat it, and
right.
Just to comment from Corvo. Just to comment from Corvo. I hear you have a grandfather with cancer in his 90s. He's still moving around. Stubborn man, but he did outlive most of the others in his village. So,
yeah.
Good for him. Great stuff.
Yeah. So what's next? I mean, what do you have planned next as far as training life, as far as the book series? What's next on your agenda?
Well, I'm about 10,000 words into my second book. I've got lots of ideas. That's one thing I don't seem to be short of, is weird and wonderful ideas. I'm just waiting because I was only ever going to write the one book, and I'll write the second book if people like it. I just need a glowing feeling that at least a few people have read it and said, "Yeah, I like it," and then not to be people I know. So, I'm having a sort of little bit of a rest, especially as I'm back to full-time work now, and I'm back to training as well, and I'm also trying to work out the world of marketing on Amazon and the other sites. I'll get back into writing that second book. As I say,
do you know where it's going? What's your kind of writing ethos? Are you a planner or are you a pantster? Or is the series planned, or is it, or are you seeing where it's going as you're writing it?
Definitely, as I'm writing it. I'll sit down to write something, and then I'll just have a little. Take my dog. That's Princess Grace's dog. It's an alien dog. Can you see it behind me?
On the book cover, yeah, it's like kind of like a big timber.
Yeah, that's the back book, the back of the book cover. Yeah. And I introduced in paragraph 1. She's a 10-year-old having on a ceremony, and I was trying to portray the fact that although it's an important ceremony, she's just a 10-year-old girl and she's getting bored. And I thought, well, I'll give her a puppy. So she's thinking of a puppy. And I never thought any more of it. And then later on, I sort of, a scene in the woods where Gracie's 2 friends have just met each other for the first time. And they're heading back to the country estate where the live team are based. And they come up against this, and I decided, a massive dog. I thought it'd just be big enough to be very unusual. And suddenly, I wrote the dog into so many scenes throughout the book, he nearly became the main character. I've even got the dog talking to a little earth dog, awesome. Having a conversation about show don't tell. So I thought, all the people that have mentioned that to me, I've learnt it here. It's in the book. But my mind sort of shoots off in all directions like that, and I have to sort of rein myself back in.
Yeah,
is that breaking the fourth? Is that breaking the fourth wall? Did you do? The thing where you like who's that character? The Marvel character who does it all the time.
Breaking the fourth walls and talking directly to your audience.
Yeah.
I haven't done that, but maybe I'll do that in the next book.
Yeah, I love the effect. No,
I'll do it right. I'll do it in my next book. It'll be
doing right. Doing right. That's awesome, isn't it? It makes you feel all warm and fuzzy.
The dog character leads me into. There's 2 questions we always ask, and one is what type of writing, whether you use Scrivener or Word or something. But the one I like to ask, and we'll come back to that. I like to ask. If you have a favorite secondary character to write, and it seems like maybe the dog would count, maybe something else, but do you have a character that you just like to write?
Definitely. Sorry, do I have a favorite secondary character?
Right, yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, well, there's a character who's a sort of who wanted to go on a mission, Grace's homeworld, for the country that is against them. And I wanted it to be, a daring mission. And I thought, no, he's just not a daring character. I'll get his nephew to go and do it. So I created his nephew. Mm-hmm. And I'd got him as quite a stoic sort of character, and I thought I need to jazz this up a bit, so I'll give him a twin. And it was a sister who's a wild sort of, they're totally chalk and cheese. And I wrote 2 or 3 chapters of these pair, and I absolutely loved it. And I thought I could write a whole book on those 2. So she's actually the prologue of the second book, doing something totally stupid and daring, but finding something out about the Xeroth that they hadn't known. So yeah, it is how I can't believe how my mind works. I would imagine it must be the same for most authors. That you've got to have grey cells that are going bananas in there, sort of.
Exactly. That's fantastic, and I can see from your enthusiasm. You're right where I'm at on that. Sometimes finding those characters is what makes it good to keep on writing. You know, because writing a novel is a big thing, and then it's like you met an old friend or something, and you just go bananas with them, and they do crazy things that you couldn't do in real life. So I love it.
In many ways, you're quite constrained with your set of main characters, aren't you? The main characters have, they've got a story to tell, they've got their own story, but they've got to move along the plot. But sometimes you side characters, you can be a bit more playful with them, and
So the other question we have is, it's extremely important and often determines the general arc of the universe and where our galaxy is going for 1,000 years to come, is what do you write in? Do you write in Word? Do you like Scrivener? Anything, no answer is wrong, except that we mostly just require everybody to use Scrivener.
I use Scrivener because I like plotting. It's the engineer in me. I've got great big A0 sheets of paper with all plots, all sort of things going on, so I can track where everyone's going. And Scrivener helps with that. What I didn't like about Scrivener is that it didn't translate well to Ellen, and it ended up coming back to me with sort of lots of errors that weren't necessarily my errors, but they were errors with Scrivener. Things like the apostrophes the wrong way around and stuff like that, which I know I've heard other people talk about that. But I'll know next time. I'm still going to write in Scrivener, but then I'll probably just rewrite it in Word or something to.
Some of that's a setup thing. Josh helped me correct a bunch of those problems I used to have that were really difficult. I understand, but usually what I do is I'll write it in Scrivener. Actually, I usually write in Docs to Scrivener to Word, and then I export it into a Word file, and then I'll do like search find to replace all those annoying errors, and it works pretty well. So I would probably hate Scrivener if it's not for Josh, who is like smarter than me, and he's my
I understand he's pretty good at it.
Yeah, he's my technical spirit animal, and he helps me fix stuff.
See, what you've just said to me, Scott, what you've just described to me has just gone straight over the top of my head.
Yeah, no, there's some good stuff in there, and I use Scrivener much more simply than when I first got it. I went through the tutorial, made everything very complicated, but now I basically write it in sections I can move around. I export it or compile it into a Word document, and then I send it to my editor, and then they slap me around until it's right. Actually, my editor.
Don't worry if you feel the need to use Word, viewers, because Word is what the experts use. They don't need all this fancy features.
Right, there you go. You can't use like document view and headings and things like that. You can make a Word document look surprisingly like Scrivener, and very able to navigate, and and then
I must admit, mine starts to look quite kind of complicated with track chains on one side, headings on the other, and it's an explosion of information.
It is an explosion. It's a Ralph bomb.
Ralph bomb.
Which could mean anything, but we'll just stop that.
Move on.
Moving on now. Right. So, all right. Well, it sounds good. So, next book, working on that, and what else we got, Ralph? I know that we got some other questions we ask people. We usually torment them with.
I'm trying to think. We've done the secondary character. We've done the. You beat us. You beat us.
Yes.
According to Guy Anthony DeMarco, real men use Notepad or WordStar. So Guy Anthony DeMarco's really put us in our place.
Notepad, plus, and WordStar. Yeah, there you go. I actually,
that little calculator thing, the little calculator thing that only has a word at a time or whatever it was.
We had somebody that used the what was that? The little tiny keyboard that just had the small screen that just showed like one sentence at a time, and then they exported that to Word. What was that? It was like Word. Maybe that was the WordStar device. I've actually been writing in Google Documents because I have an app at Read Aloud, which one of our previous guests showed us to. And so like I'll write it in or dictate it into Google Docs, and then I can listen to it on the way to work, and I'll pick up things I missed. And then I will eventually break it into my Scrivener for further manipulation and abuse of the story.
Here's one for you, Andy, because I feel like every time we really sort of learn something new from one of our guests. So, I mean, crikey, last time we did an interview, I picked up an absolutely fantastic cover artist. So give us a little snippet of information you would have told yourself a year and a half ago, or something you've discovered that you think would benefit our viewers.
Anything you wish you could do differently with your writing if you could go back and start from the beginning?
So you want me to give all these fantastic authors that watch our show, I say our show because I normally watch these, me, top-selling author, 25 copies I've sold worldwide.
Show us the way to greatness.
I don't know. I think I needed to go through the learning process. I really can't think of anything I can sort of offer to that. I mean, I don't work in any particular manner. I'll quite happily start working, then see something on the telly and get distracted. Or so no, I have no pearls of wisdom. Sorry, chaps.
We'll come back.
Well, then maybe I'd have one from sort of looking from the outside in, if I may, and that is that you haven't quite often. There's two schools of thought on writing your first book. One is a chap called Michael Anderley came out with the term minimal viable product. So have a go at writing, put it out there, see whether it works, and then use the feedback to then sort of lift yourself to higher levels. And then down the other end of the spectrum is absolutely no compromises. So no compromises on the amount of time and effort and resources put into it, whether it be from the the award-winning editing of Ellen Campbell to enlisting the help of Tom Edwards. So, and I would suggest that one should only be at one end of that spectrum or the other, and probably trying to hover in any kind of middle ground on that. It would, try and pick one end or the other is basically what I'm saying. Does that make sense? Have I articulated that well enough?
No, I get you.
No. I think what I have done is that I've found a way while writing the book to really, really annoy my kids. And that has been absolutely great. I even mentioned to my long-suffering kids.
It's mission
they've
accomplished.
had to listen. They've had to. Yeah, mission has definitely been accomplished. Yeah.
I think.
By the way, you've sold 26 copies now, according to our online chat.
We got some people in our chat room that are buying the book right now. Hopefully they'll like it, enjoy it, and leave.
Can I put the order in for the yacht yet?
Yes, please do.
Good. We'll come right on it right now, and we'll do a special episode on your yacht.
We'll do writing sprints on your yacht.
We writing sprint on your yacht. Yeah. So I think a big thing is be part of a community. That's one thing I think all writers can help, and that's why we love everybody coming to our live chat. Again, we can't thank them enough, and then all the people that come and hang out with us. So.
Right. Any questions from our audience about other than Arnold punching a camel? I don't get that.
I missed the camel punching thing, but I did have one question for Andy, if he's written or plans to write in any other genres or anything.
I considered seriously writing a murder mystery. I mean, I absolutely adore Agatha Christie, and especially Miss Marple. I can watch them forever on the TV. And what appeals to me is, I've always thought you start one of those books by working backwards. And then you've got to sort of throw in red herrings and all sorts of stuff. And the actual planning side of that appeals to me. So if I ever did write in a fourth book as such, yeah, I think I'd like to do a mystery of some sort.
Look forward to that. I'd like mysteries that I'm terrified to ever try and write one. So you got to tell us how to do it. We'll get it figured out.
I don't think you'll find a better pedigree of a mystery writer.
Right. I think we're getting close to the hour here. So Andy, thanks so much for coming on the show. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us.
If anyone were to try and want some more information, where can they find out a little bit more about you, or is it something as simple as hooking up on Facebook?
Yeah, nowhere. I'm a complete ghost. I've nearly set a Facebook page up.
You can more than
I'm still looking. I'm nowhere to be found.
There you go. The Writer Ninja.
I'm working on it.
That's how we should have tagline the show, the Writing Ninja, aka Lambert. I will give people some hints, people that do want to find more of your book, just to search in Amazon for A.K. Lambert. If you search for Andy Lambert or Andrew Lambert, you'll get a bunch of other authors, but A.K. Lambert, or just search for the Princess Grace of Earth, the Zerot Infestation Book 1, and that'll get you right to the right place. Or ask one of us on the show, and we'll guide you in like a flight control team.
Yeah, with pleasure,
Yeah. So if everybody could let us know, let us know what you thought about the show in the comments. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. We'd love to hear from you. We just hit 300 subscribers today, so we're very excited about that. We always love the interaction. For Ralph Kern, I'm Scott Moon. We've been live with Andy Lambert. Be sure to come back. Join us next time as we talk about reading, writing, and everything in between right here on Keystroke Media. See you, everyone.
Good up. Thanks, guys.